Listen, you can't be a super mom and get to $20,000 to $50,000 a month if you're scared. Yeah. You can't get in amazing shape and look and feel your absolute best if you're afraid to take that first step. You can't become the best version of yourself if you literally tell yourself, I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z.
There's a lot of responsibility behind 100%. That. This person is trusting you to guide them through the path to health and wellness and gosh, in the single mom realm of things like starting their life over, you know?
What's going on, guys? Here, aka the BuiltCEO, and today I have a very special guest here. Guys, this person, this human is such an amazing human. When it comes to women empowerment, this is the woman that you want to be next to. This is...
Hi, I'm Sarah. Thank you. I'm Sarah. I am a coach, a fitness, nutrition, bodybuilding coach. I'm also co-partner in a company that helps single moms kind of get back on their feet, you know, and this is the company that I just started, a company that a lot of what you taught me has kind of really helped me skyrocket that and my own fitness coaching. I've been coaching for about 5 years, but previous to that, when I became a coach was because of my own personal health journey. Like I grew up really sick. I was spent a year in the hospital when I was 12 and my body was failing. And in that, like coming back, my whole adolescence, all of my 20s, I never really recovered from that. And I was just kind of walking around sick all the time. And in my late 20s, mid 20s, I decided like enough was enough, and I needed. If I didn't figure this out, I couldn't rely on the doctors. I couldn't rely. Nobody's figured it out to this point, and this couldn't be my reality anymore. I had to do something about it, and so I really just dove headfirst into trying to make myself healthy. And I have ulcerative colitis, so my gut is not good. My body hates food.
You have to be careful.
I have to be really careful. And so I dove in to try and make myself healthy. And it was in hiring my own coach, who, I mean, I saw more change in the first 6 months of working with a nutrition coach than I had in the previous 16 years of trying to figure out and trusting doctors and do it on my own, 100%. You know? And that just clicked for me. It was like, okay, this what has been doesn't have to be what's going to be. And I do have a lot more control over this than I thought I did.
Absolutely. And you know, like, I think it's also important to say that is that you didn't give up, right? You like kept trying and trying over and over again. Like, I think in 2024 also, once, you know, someone kind of realizes, hey, there's something wrong with me, they don't really do a lot to actually like improve it, right? But you kept trying and trying for years and years, still to this day, right? Until you figured something out. How is your health doing nowadays?
Oh, it's so good. So good. You know, I'm not on any medication, which I never thought would be a reality for me. You know, I never thought that would be a reality for me, that I could manage this through lifestyle, through nutrition. And it is, and it's mind blowing. I feel better now than I think I have in my whole entire adult life, which is exciting. But so while I'm figuring all of this out and making all of these changes, I never gave up. I think actually, I take that back. I think I probably did throughout like the first part of my life, right? Because I just 100%. Conceded to like, this is reality. This is what all the doctors 100%. Tell me. This is what I have to live with for the rest of my life.
It'll drive you crazy, 100%.
So I stopped asking questions. I stopped looking for answers. I stopped trying to try things, and I just did what the doctor said and conceded to the fact that I was going to be miserable, and that was the only way to do it. And then when that light bulb came off and I realized I didn't have to, you know, so when I first started fitness, I was in CrossFit, and I, you know, jumped into CrossFit. I jumped into nutrition.
I remember talking about that.
And I loved it. And to this day, like, while CrossFit is not my modality of exercise anymore. It holds a really near and dear place in my heart. They taught me how to exercise. They gave me community. They gave me support. They, you know, really, that this sport really kind of guided me and laid the foundation for me to be kind of the level I am within fitness, which was amazing. And then I had a corporate career. I had a corporate career. I did corporate business development and sales operations for T-Mobile, and I hated it. Corporate will do that to you. Corporate will do that to you 100%. But it was in figuring out that I'm starting to ask questions about my health and finding answers there. It made me question a lot of other things in my life where I wasn't happy and was really questioning, like, what do I actually have control over in terms of my happiness? And so it just made this cascade effect of making change in my life.
Yeah, caused a chain reaction of just doing and improving every single thing.
Yeah, I realized that for years I had been confusing being good at my job with loving my job.
Right.
Those are two very different things.
100%.
And so that light bulb went off, and call it divine intervention, but my prayers were answered, because sometimes be careful what you pray for, be careful what you wish for, because and they may be answered when you weren't exactly ready for it or expecting it. And so for like a year and a half, I'd been talking about how much I hated my job and how much I didn't want to do it anymore. And then 2020 came around and they passed out layoffs. And I was like, well, I manifested this.
This is true. This is true. But, I do feel everything happens for a reason, right? Because, you are a full-time coach now, right? In several areas. And I think with first of all, you have a very incredible story. You've gone through a lot. And I think the fact that you have a child, you have a daughter, right?
And a son.
And a son as well, two kids, right? You're setting this example for them.
Yeah.
Right? So they see how strong mom actually is.
Yeah.
Not just physically, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? Oftentimes, I feel like we always try to get our kids to do the things that we want them to do, but rather than showing them, right?
Yeah.
You're showing them how it's done.
Yeah, I always say they'll learn so much more from what we do than what we say.
Amen. Yeah.
And it's so true. My daughter's 16, my son is 12 now.
God bless them. That's amazing.
And I've been on this journey myself, leading by example, for 11 years. And in that 11 years, I look at my kids at 16 and 12 and the amount of knowledge that they have around their relationship to food, their relationship to movement, their ability to kind of assess how their body feels after they eat something or after when they don't move. I mean, I'm like unreal proud of that.
Setting them up for success, setting them up for success. But that's how it should be, right? Yeah. And I'm sure you pass these habits on to your clients with children as well, right? So it's very, very cool to, have a coach who practices what she actually preaches instead of just do this, right? No, you're actually living everything you preach.
Yeah, well, and a lot of what I do is mindset. A lot of my coaching is mindset, and a lot of my coaching is overcoming your own limiting beliefs. So I'm also a hypnotherapist. Wow.
Yeah, that's right. We were talking about that way before. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I have a degree in mind body psychology, and so really it's about overcoming the stories we chose to believe.
Right.
And here's the thing, I've seen it time and time again, and I believe this with every ounce of every fiber of my being, is you will only ever rise to the level in which you believe is possible for yourself.
Absolutely.
And so as long as you're looking in the mirror thinking, I could never do that. Well, I mean, you're right. You're right. You have to say, I'm ready and nothing's going to stop me.
Exactly.
The no matter freaking what mindset. This is going to happen. And to almost to the point of arrogance, see it like you're already there.
You need to believe you are the absolute best at what you do in order for you to be amazing. To begin with.
And some people will argue no, you got to be humble.
Right.
I think humble is a disservice to yourself.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. I think you're doing yourself a disservice. I'm not saying go around and beat everybody down to make yourself better. Right. That's not believing in yourself.
Right. That's just thinking you're literally better than everyone.
Yeah.
Versus walking into the room knowing that you don't have to compare yourself to anyone because you're great at what you do. Right.
Yeah. It's 100%. Not a competition. There are 8 billion people in this world. You and I can't possibly help all 8 billion 100%. Of them. We need so many people like us who want to take what they've learned and take what they've experienced and what they know to be true and help people that are ready to walk that path. So when I left T-Mobile and started doing this, it was at T-Mobile, I felt like I had so much to offer the world. Yeah. And I was just sitting in a broom closet, trapped, just collecting dust. Yeah. And so when I left, I had a little bit of a nervous breakdown. I was
as you should.
What am I going to do? Where's money going to come from? And I'm a single mom of 2 kids, how am I going to restart this, start over? I worked 15 years to get to where I'm at. How do I start this over, And I was presented with this fork in the road. I knew that coaching was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I knew like now, okay, I have the opportunity to go back to school. I have the opportunity to start building a business. And if anybody out there has ever built a coaching business, they know it doesn't happen overnight.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, literally.
You start with a client. Let me
Yeah.
tell you what, a client isn't going to pay all of your bills. You start with 4 clients. That's still not.
Yeah.
So you have to build it in a way that's like, it makes a livable wage.
Sustainability.
And sustainability.
Yeah.
And scalability,
Yeah,
which you taught me
100%. Yeah.
so much about. And so, I had this fork in the road where about 2 months, 6 weeks after I got laid off, I was offered another job, and
Yeah.
it was better. It was like,
Right.
I mean, a lot, like $80,000 a year more than what I was making.
Yeah.
And it was but doing the same thing for a
Right.
different company. And so I was presented with this fork in the road, and talking to my boyfriend about it, and I was like, I mean, how do I turn this down?
Yeah.
You know what I
It's almost
mean?
an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah.
But
and in our conversation, I come to this realization, like, okay, here's the thing. I can take option A, which is another corporate job, and be safe.
The security's there.
The security is there. And I will spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened if I would have just tried. And if I try, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
I go and get a job.
Yeah.
Failure is the only failure if you concede to defeat.
Yeah.
As long as you fall down on your face 100 times, as long as you get back up and keep going, it's not a failure. And so I didn't take the job.
Yeah.
And I went back to school. I made this was the fork in the road. And got the mind body psychology, my nutrition certs, and just really
because you believed in yourself, which is the most important thing.
More than I have ever believed anything was possible. I believed I could do this.
100%.
I told myself, if this doesn't work out, I will just go and get another job. And then my very next thought in my head was, I'm not going to get another job.
Yeah. Especially when you start to realize your potential, especially once you obtain that first client, second client, third client. Holy shit, I have 10 clients. What's happening, right?
So much. And how much it teaches you about yourself as not just yourself in, okay, I'm building this business and what do I know about business and how do I build it? Right. But you start to notice where you're resistant to things. You start to notice what things give you anxiety,
you learn
and where you're nervous. And if you've got anxiety and you're nervous and you've got resistance, you have 2 options. You move through it or you quit. Well, quitting was not an option. And so it forces you to really go inside and really do some introspection, do some reflection. And
I always say, like, you put a person in a position of a CEO, they'll learn a lot about themselves, spiritually, mentally, physically, everything, 100%. So I do have a list of questions. We're going to jump straight to it. First of all, that story is absolutely amazing. And I do truly believe every single thing happens for a reason, right? Like, I'm sure even at your job, when you were working at T-Mobile, taught you a lot of valuable lessons. Because I've had a 9-to-5 as well in a corporate job. And like, I always hated it, but I find myself still implementing some of the things I've learned to the company that I own today, or some of the guys or girls that I'm training today, right? So mostly the organization structure of things. So, I believe I talked about this on the last podcast, but I'll always say, like, you're exactly where you're supposed to be, specifically to learn something. And sometimes you can't see that thing and it's like, like, this sucks, I don't want to be here. But rather than thinking, why am I here? Like, how come this is just happening to me? It should be, what is this trying to teach me, right? What can I take from this? Because once you learn that valuable lesson that God wants you to learn, now you could level up to the next thing, right? And then once you level up to that next thing, you can't screw that thing up immediately. Sure, you're going to screw up in other areas, but you've learned enough from that last job where it's giving you a solid foundation in order for you to actually scale what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Okay. I learned so much from that corporate career and still implement a lot of it today. A lot of it is in terms of like processes and structure and how to keep things organized. I definitely continue to use that. Structure
is everything. So right now, can you share with us your journey before working with me as a coach and a mentor, and pretty much what made you seek guidance in scaling your online coaching fitness business? Because I don't want to say necessarily seeking guidance, but when we started to work together, I know you gave me a call and said, hey, Drew, like, I'm starting my coaching company, you know, I'm doing this. And I was like, Sarah, I support you 100%.
Yeah,
right? So,
yeah. So I had already been, you know, a coach for 4 years when we connected. And the best thing that I have ever done for, gosh, not just my business, but my own personal development is seek mentors, is seek coaches. And getting a coach for my nutrition, for my fitness,
practice
for my health,
what you preach.
showed me like, okay, there is no shame in not knowing or knowing that somebody maybe knows more. And if they want to show me how to walk the path, then I want to walk that path. And you know, my very first mentor in this was my coach. My coach was my mentor. And I think you actually mentored him too, Phil.
Phil, I helped him with some ad stuff.
So, okay.
Very talented guy. Good dude overall.
Yes, my best friend in the world and was my
How you doing,
mentor.
Phil? If he's watching this.
And you know, when I wasn't sure if I had the belief in myself, like that was, I think, where he really helped. And so what I saw was, okay, coaches. All right, get a business coach. All right, get mentors. All right, people know the way. And so, you know, 4 years into this journey, I'm like, all right, here's where I'm at. I'm at this place where ends are kind of meeting. I'm supporting my family. I'm paying my bills, but it's not as comfortable as I'd like it to be.
There's always more.
And and there's not enough of a cushion. And there's, and so I knew that I had this opportunity in terms of scaling. And where, you know, a lot of the people that have coached me or mentored me through this fitness industry, they are solely in the fitness and nutrition industry. My expertise kind of expanded out to the hypnosis, to the mindset, to the, you know, and so I was like, how do I create something where all of this is all encompassing? God, and then how do I get people to know that I've created it? And I had been watching, you know, we met at the gym years before and
flew by.
Flew by. And started following each other on Instagram, and I had just been watching your journey with Built and was just so blown away by what you had created with Built. And so, you know, when the opportunity came up to work with you in Built, I was like, I'm sending this message right now, because I know that where you are is where I want to be. And you got here, so you know, show me the way.
And you're definitely getting here. You're actually around the corner, right? So that's very good.
I feel it. I'm at the precipice. I feel it.
I'm like, I'll always like say too, like consistency and scaling with quality and quantity is how you jump a lot of numbers, right? Like success isn't like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 1, 2, 3. I'm stuck. I'm not getting anywhere, and then all of a sudden you jump to 7, right? Because you were stuck, but you were patient, and you did the right things, and you immediately skipped a couple of numbers. Right. So you could jump the gun. I'm not saying shortcuts, so please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm just saying sometimes you're going to eat shit. Sometimes it's going to suck. But as long as you're consistent, all right, even if you're consistently doing the incorrect things, you'll come across doing the right thing, and that right thing will elevate you to the next level.
I feel that sometimes.
I truly believe it. So. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and sometimes you elevate and then you go backwards a little bit and then you elevate some more and it's just this. And again, you just, when that backwards happens, it feels like quitting. It feels like failure. You just pick yourself up and keep moving forward.
I call it a slow motion trampoline, right?
Yeah, oh, that's great.
Jump down, go a little up. Go all the way back up, down, all the way up again. And then you're just like stuck there for a couple seconds, like, oh shit, I'm going back down. So, I mean, it happens. It's a part of the game, right? So, when we started, you were not where you are today financially, right? I know you're now breaking pretty big numbers per month, right? You said you're averaging 20 to 50K a month. So what did I teach you, or like some of the things I teach you that kind of helped contribute to hitting those numbers per month?
I think where you helped me more than any other, you helped me in so many ways, but more than anything else is in the sales process. And you know what's really interesting about that is I've spent my entire career in the sales field. I came to you and was like, you know, I'm gonna start blushing, Sarah. I know sales. And that's not to say I don't, right? Like we were talking about in our past careers, it's laid a foundation of skills.
100%.
But you can't know always how much further you can take it
right.
when you've never been there.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and when you
yeah.
feel like you've taken it further than a lot of the other people around you, you're like,
yeah.
I mean, how much further really is there?
100%.
And so it's in that sales process, and gosh, I don't know if you remember when we first started working together. It was choppy, guys. It made me question everything I knew about sales.
No, it was
it was choppy, but I just kept on pushing through, and I, you know, I'm sure you remember, and anybody who would ask, they would be like, "How are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm going to be the best at this."
Yeah.
I am going to be. I'm not today. I get that,
Yeah.
but I am going to be the best at this, and just watch. And it's that nothing can stop me attitude that really keeps me moving forward. But just through that sales process, in how to get on the phone and talk to a complete stranger.
Right.
About what you're doing.
Right.
It's not a cold call. It's not a cold DM. It's somebody who has expressed interest in either who you are as a person, which happens with a brand presence on social media, who you are and what could mean for them, or what it is you do, or an extreme need for something. And you know, a lot of what we do in fitness, people come to us in life and death situations.
Yeah, literally life and death situations.
Yeah,
literally.
Like they're like, and I have had people on
and
the
you've
phone
been there too. Yeah,
and I've been there, and I think that really helps in the conversation.
100%.
But I've had people on the phone say, if I don't do something, I'm gonna die. And like, what is the reality? That's huge.
Yeah.
Knowing how to respond to that,
is one of the most important things.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's the difference between them trusting you to bring you on to help them, and them saying, all right, I'm still looking for the right fit.
Right.
Knowing how to respond to that, you know, and what people need to hear. And I'm not saying spin an untrue story, but like, my story is big.
Right.
And there's a lot of parts to it.
100%.
And knowing how to talk to somebody, knowing how to listen and respond in a way that tells me what parts of my story are important for them to know.
Right.
Has it changed sales from sales to like these really emotional, empathetic, powerful conversations.
Absolutely.
And that changed everything. When learning how to talk to somebody, and the process you have for teaching it.
Yeah. It's very interesting, right? It's, you know, it's kind of different, but to your point, like, you're absolutely right. Like, I feel like once people think sales, like, oh, you know, it's just a script. It's not just a script, right? Like, sales is a transfer of energy. You need to listen, and you need to let the client know that you're listening as well. And if you're unable to do that, they can tell that you're being, whether it's a sleazy car salesman, just going through the motion, sounds like you're playing 21 questions, right? Like, no, like, you should have human to human interaction, and the interaction and the transfer of energy should be so well that at the end of the call, once you do ask for the sale, they're like, you know what, like, I had such a good conversation with you. You are the coach. You are the one. I am going to do this.
Yeah.
So I
and
definitely
what a
agree
gift
with that.
That is something I don't ever take for granted. Every single time somebody hires me, there's so much gratitude, not for the money that has just ended up in my bank account, but
because they trust you.
There's a lot of responsibility behind
100%.
that. This person is trusting you to guide them through the path to health and wellness, and gosh, in the single mom realm of things, like starting their life over, you know, and in the mindset of things, like I have people who come to me, you know, with eating disorders or depression or anxiety or you know phobias, and so it's not always nutrition in what I do, but it is.
It correlates.
Nutrition and fitness isn't nutrition and fitness, but nutrition and fitness is a part of everything.
100%. And that's very like true too, right? Like I feel like if you can look and feel a certain way, you're going to operate differently as well and handle certain situations differently, as opposed to not looking and feeling how you would preferably want to look and feel, right? Okay, so what were some of the strategies or techniques I taught you that had the biggest impact to your growth? We had sales, and then any like organization aspects, maybe trial and error things that you didn't have to really do on your own, but just knew, okay, I've already done this, so I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to implement the right thing to my business. We kind of talked about the two, right?
Yeah. You know, the scalability is and was a really important piece of this for me. And so when I look at, you know, outside of the sales piece of things, how your business is possible to be scaled,
Yeah.
right? Is who it requires a team.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
want to do it all on our own, but it requires
In a perfect world, yeah.
it requires a team. I mean, and not to say that you can't start all on your own, right? I'm still pretty on my own. I wouldn't say all on my own. I don't have employees,
right.
you know, but realizing that having people in your corner who want to support and help, doing things like getting a VA. Is a game changer.
Virtual assistants.
And you know, partnering with my business partner Amanda, who she's really the brains behind the operations for Brave Single Moms. And
sorry to cut you off. What was it called again? Brave Single Moms.
Brave Single Moms.
Where could we find that?
So the link is in my bio on my Instagram, which is sa.rah.beth, and or you can do bravesinglemoms.com.
Perfect.
Plug. And so just scalability is I see the way, you know, Built runs, and I see that it's run in a way where there are processes in place that allow it to be scaled, and we do that through lead generation and then through the sales process, and then what happens to that lead after the sale, the nurture of that lead, and it definitely taught me a lot about that lead generation, and so then I was able to go and try some of these tactics on my own, and I was it was like overnight. I was like, wow, you know, everything in I do jujitsu, and so everything is jujitsu.
I know, it's really good.
Jujitsu is like
amazing.
And so one of the things that the analogies I have is like in jujitsu, you are trying, you're rolling with somebody, and they keep doing the same thing. You submit. They keep submitting you over and over again in the same move, in the same, and then you know, he stops me, and this is a real life example. He stops me and he's like, I'm like, you keep getting me in this submission. And he's like, okay, stop right here. Now look up. Now look to your left. And I was like, there's an armbar right there. And so I'm always like, life is just, you know, everything in life is just an armbar away, and that's how this felt. It was like, it happened, and I'm like, wow, it just was, it was right there. And it takes courage, I think, is one of the other things. It's all like, you have to be, that's another thing you taught me, is like, you've got to be willing to take the risk. And sometimes that risk is going to pan out, and sometimes it might not. But if you have a good mentor and have a good coach, you're mitigating how many of the silly not going to pan out risks that you take, and you're taking more of the ones that, not to say it's foolproof, but you learn from yours, let somebody else be your cautionary tale. And
and like, I think it's also important to say too, like, you're always going to eat shit no matter what. I don't care how like perfectly you're doing things. There is going to be a point in time in your entrepreneurship journey or inside your company where like it's going to hit the fan. However, you're prepared to handle it, right? Because you're expecting it. Like, oftentimes I feel like people don't really handle situations well because they think everything's supposed to be perfect, fine, and dandy. In what world? Right? Like, when it hits the fan, you're like, okay, this sucks, but it's a part of the, you know, it's part of the game. So if it's a part of the game, I'm not going to trip over it because I understand that this was eventually going to happen.
You know, you told me, you said something, and I think you posted it on Instagram, and then we had a conversation about it afterward, and it resonated with me so much. I think about it almost every day. Anytime anxiety hits, anytime stress hits, and you said, where you feel the most stress in your life is where you trust God the least.
Amen. Yes.
And that like hit hard. And so I started really asking myself, okay, if I'm stressed about money, if I'm stressed about failures in my business, if I'm stressed about anything, we'll call it money and failures in my business for this.
All right, guys. So the podcast did accidentally get cut off. Apparently there's a time limit on the camera. I'm not sure how that works, but technical issue. So Sarah, we're going to start from here. So can you share any success stories or testimonials from clients that kind of lingers in the back of your head because it was so amazing?
Yeah. So I do have one client who comes to mind first and foremost, and her name is Lindsay. And Lindsay came to me about a little over a year ago, and she was ready for change. She was 220 pounds overweight, had no energy, wasn't feeling good. And I had known her from years previous when I was like 20 years old. We worked together in a retail job. And so she'd been following me on Instagram, and she was like, I'm doing it. I'm reaching out to you. And you know what she said is, I've been watching you, and I watch you on Instagram, and I think, why not me?
Yeah.
That's what she said. She goes, why not me? And I was like, you know what? Let's do it, you know? And so she was like, I will do everything you say. I will trust you. She was the most coachable client I've ever had. I trust you. I will do whatever you tell me to do. I'm ready for this to be changed. Now, here's the thing, you guys. Lindsay travels 80% of the time for work. She's gone more than she's home by far. And she went on like 7 vacations during our time together, and she's still my client today. So, but during this transformation, and in that time, she never missed a workout. She was 100% adherence to the plan. She literally did everything I said. Fast forward a year later, and her goal when she first started with me was to get to 160, get to 160 pounds from 220.
From 220,
doable.
Very doable.
She is a little over a year later, she's at 135.
Wow.
And
holy smokes. And traveling too.
And traveling and going on vacation. And she never, she just, there were no excuses. It was, we find solutions, not problems. And where there's a will, there's a way. And if this is what I need to do, then I'm going to do it. And she did. She showed up 110%, 110% of the time. And it wasn't always easy, and it wasn't even usually easy. It's a hard. This is a journey that is so much more than physical and so much more than nutrition. It's
100%.
It's mental. It's personal, and so she got to grow not only in her physical goals, but mentally and emotionally as well. And when she talks about how her life has changed, and when she talks about how happy she is and how healthy she is, and she's 135 pounds muscular. She looks ripped. It's incredible. And I carry that success with me because it's like the epitome of true permanent life change. Like, I love that. Her life has changed forever. She cannot go back to where she was because she is not who she was. She has evolved. And that is what I'm in this for.
And I'm sure it's also caused a chain reaction of other people, like seeing, hey, if she did, I could do it too, right?
The amount of people she's inspired, I think, is more as equally as emotionally overwhelming for her as the fact that she was able to accomplish it.
I can imagine.
With her permission, I post her transformation, which you can find on my Instagram, by the way, and she has inspired so many people. So many people have reached out to me, have reached out to her, and their heads spin. They cannot believe what they're seeing in this photo. And it's one of the pictures where you're like, is this a real photo? And I'm like, it's a real photo.
I think if you combine a coach with a coachable person, that's when the transformation really happens. Because everybody wants to get in shape, right? Everybody wants to look and feel good, but how many people are actually going to stay consistent on the vacations, while traveling, while working, right? And the fact that someone was able to get from 220 all the way down to, you said 135. Ripped, by the way, right?
Ripped.
Anything's possible.
Shoulder caps.
Right? Oh, should I look like that, right? Very good, And like, truth is too, like, it's very cool because like those clients end up becoming the greatest clients. The relationship you guys establish, right? It isn't just a client to client relationship, right? But I feel like it sparks up that old friendship you guys once had. I believe you said at the age of like 17, where it's like you guys hadn't, spoken in like 17 years or whatever, right? But like, once you guys started to work together, it rekindled the spark, and like you guys were good again, right? So those clients end up becoming permanent clients for life because they trust you. You're the one who changed their life in a positive way.
And as coaches, we learn a lot from them too, and you hit the nail on the head when you said when somebody coachable hires a coach, the game changes. As her coach and just being witness to her coachability, like it really, I'm a very introspective person. And so it really, makes you kind of go inside and reflect, and you're like, where can I be more coachable? This is happening because she is willing to be coachable. Where in my life, if I was willing to be a student, would I grow? And would I just skyrocket? And it's by no coincidence that I started working with Lindsay at the same time I started working with you know? And so as I'm coaching her and she's being this amazing client, I'm also asking myself, where in life can I be a student, and where in life can I grow, and how can I be more coachable? And I'm a pretty coachable person.
Yeah. You are definitely are.
But yeah, it teaches us a lot about ourselves.
Great coaches how to coach.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So question: what advice would you give to other online fitness coaches who would like to hire a business coach to skyrocket their coaching business to the 6 to 7 figure business mark as well, whether it's me or someone else, right?
Yeah, I would say the best place that you can invest is in yourself. Be that student, being a student, being willing to learn from somebody who's already walked that path.
Yeah.
And making the investment in yourself is where you grow. Like my advice is do it yesterday.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There are so many people who have accomplished what it is I want to accomplish. There are so many people that have accomplished what it is that you want to accomplish.
Right.
Find those people and learn from them. And when you do, you learn about yourself. You learn about what you're capable of, and it's having trust in the journey. Is see where you are today and see where you want to go.
Yeah.
See where you want to be.
Yeah.
Don't worry so much about what the road looks like to get there. Just make sure that the right people are on that road with you.
Absolutely.
And so I'm a firm believer that, you've got to see your goals as if you've already accomplished them.
100%.
And you've got to have a circle of people who are elevating you to those goals.
Absolutely.
And that's where the value of coaching is. That's what you've done for me and many of the other coaches and mentors that I've hired. So, it's nobody will ever have to sell me on the value of coaching as a coach myself, but also I am who I am today because of people like you.
Absolutely.
People
Thank
like
you for
Phil,
that. Yeah.
people like,
Absolutely.
people who have coached me along the way.
Yeah. And truth is too, just like you said, it's not just being a coachable client for fitness, right? Mm-hmm. You just have to be coachable in general, right? Because I know a lot of great online fitness coaches who aren't coachable, right? When it comes to giving them advice to scale their coaching businesses, right? So I think there needs to be kind of like somewhat of an understanding that, hey, I don't know everything, right? And the second you realize I don't know everything is the second you start to skyrocket, because you turn it into a sponge and you soak up all the information in, right? The second you think you are the shit is the second you go backwards. And pride isn't a good thing, right? However, you should still be absolutely confident, kind of like we were talking about earlier, knowing that when you walk into the room, you don't have to compare yourself to anyone because you know the value you bring to the table, right? So as long as you're coachable, as long as you're willing to learn, you will skyrocket, which you did. That's why you're here right now, right? So speaking of skyrocketing, how has life been, from how it was 2 years ago compared to how it is now? Whether it's spiritually, having a peace of mind, financially, right? What areas have improved?
I would say all of it. All of it has improved and changed. I look at where I was 5 years ago and it doesn't even feel like my life. Like it feels like so far removed and so different. And I'm like that was like a whole nother lifetime ago. And where I am today, and I think like where I see, yes, of course, financially, I'm in a much better place, right? A much better place. And so that's really awesome and exciting and only motivates me to keep growing, because while I'm in a much better place, like, I'm still moving up.
You're barely getting started.
I'm barely getting started. I'm still moving up.
Let's go.
And so, but where is who I am and how I show up in the world. Yeah. I have this sense of freedom. Good. With life. So emotionally, spiritually, internally, everything, there's the quote that if you are doing the thing that you love, you won't work a day in your life. Yes. And it sounds trite to say until you've learned it or until you've lived it. Absolutely. And I've lived that. And sometimes, I'm up at 3:30 in the morning. And from 3:30 in the morning to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, putting in work. I'm working. And sometimes the end of the day, I get to that day and I'm like, oh my God, I just worked 16 hours today. And I'm exhausted, but I am fired up. It doesn't feel like you work 16 hours, right? It doesn't feel like work. Everything I'm doing, I'm loving. When I'm checking in with clients, I'm fired up. When I'm on the phone with leads, I'm fired up. Like I have so much, I think, to answer your question specifically, now versus 5 years ago, I walk around this world with so much abundance and gratitude.
God bless. That's amazing.
Like abundance and gratitude is the energy that I feel inside of myself more than anything now.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's the best for that gratitude.
Yeah.
And
I feel having that gratitude is what helps you scale.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't scale if you don't have gratitude. Like you can't have faith and be ungrateful at the same time. Right? If you believe in yourself and if you believe in God, right? Like God always says it too. Like you can't not have faith and be ungrateful at the same time, right? Like you need to be grateful and you need to have faith in order for you to progress and get where you want to go. Yeah. The way I see it too is like the fact that you're up at 3:30 a.m. every single day. Like I get up pretty early. I'd say like 4:35, 6 on a bad day, right? But like you're up at 3:30 a.m. and that is no joke, right? Like there are a lot of people who say, "Oh, I'm up at 3." But no, like you actually live it.
Yeah.
Right? 2 kids is a full-time job. Coaching company, full-time job. Working for another coaching, full-time job, right? So like you have to be up at 3:30 a.m. almost every single day. Right?
Otherwise, there's no time.
No.
And sometimes when the day gets too full,
Yeah.
I'm like, gosh, maybe I could wake up at 2:30 tomorrow. I'm like, no, okay, we've pushed this needle as far to the morning as we can take it, and so we can't sacrifice sleep. That's one of the things I know very much about my health is I have to get my sleep. So it's made me incredibly efficient with my time. Is what it's made me. I'm incredibly efficient with my time. You've also really helped me with that because of the way you run your business and the way you've shown me to run business. I'm married to my calendar in like the healthiest way because my calendar links people automatically.
Of course.
They link it. I don't do any of my own scheduling. Somebody gets a link, they book a time, it goes up on my calendar. All I have to do is make sure that take my kids to school is on my calendar, pick them up is on my calendar, go to the gym is on, as long as that stuff is on my calendar, everything else is just open and free and people fill it in. And then all of a sudden, my day is full. It's back to back, but it is so efficient and so doable. And I'm so freaking happy doing it.
It's organized structure.
Organized structure. It's no chaos at all. It's busy. I would not have it any other way. And anytime I feel that like, sometimes I feel so busy, I maybe will get a little overwhelmed. We're only human, right?
Right.
The thing that cures that for me is I ask myself, what would I rather be doing right now?
Right.
And I literally can't think of a single thing I'd rather be doing.
I'm glad you brought that like I get so stressed and my anxiety shoots through the roof if I don't have a schedule that's super, super busy. Because if I have too much free time, I'm like, shit, there's nothing to do. What the fuck am I supposed to do, right? So no, I definitely relate to that. And I'm very proud of you too, right? Because I know I keep bringing this up over and over, but you are a super mom, right? You are a superwoman. Literally, like you're taking care of the kids, running the companies, doing this, and you're setting that example not only for your kids, but also for your clients. Because if you have a 16-hour day, and are still in amazing shape, by the way, you train like every single day, right, Jackson? Why can't other people do it, right?
Thank you.
Kids, mom, right? Why? Right? So when you tell them to do something, they take you seriously, as opposed to the coach telling them to do something, but the coach isn't even practicing what he or she preaches.
Yeah, well, and I think it's important in coaching to be really vulnerable with where you've been, where you've come from. Yeah. Because I wasn't born like this. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I lived a really rough life for the first 25 years of my life. Yeah. And it was just in making the decision that Lindsay made, making the decision that I made, that enough was enough and I was going to change. And just start with changing one thing. Start with hiring a coach, one coach, and then change another thing. As a coach, it's important that the people you're coaching see that. They see that I'm not special. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm not special. I did what any one of us can do.
Same 24 hours in the day.
Same 24 hours in the day. I'm only human. And so, it's important that they see, like, if it's possible for me, it's possible for you. You want to see where I started? You want to see what my limiting factors were? I could give you all the reasons why I couldn't do it. Yeah. I just didn't let any of those reasons be reasons.
Absolutely.
And that's the same, when I look at us for starting a business or taking that next step into your coaching business. Yeah, I can think of a million reasons why it's terrifying and scary and you shouldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But none of them are real reasons. They're
100%.
all just the story we feed ourselves because we're scared of change.
Listen, you can't be a super mom and get to $20,000 to $50,000 a month if you're scared.
Yeah.
You can't get in amazing shape and look and feel your absolute best if you're afraid to take that first step. You can't become the best version of yourself if you literally tell yourself, I can't do this because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Those are all limiting beliefs, and those need to be completely broken down in order for you to actually progress. There has to be some form of self-belief in order for you to progress. Even if you have a little bit, of self-belief, hiring the right coach, having the right business coach, having the right mentor, right, will give you that extra push into becoming the best version of yourself. As long as you can slightly believe in yourself. That's all it takes. Versus no belief whatsoever.
Absolutely. And when overcoming limiting beliefs, and this is something I've seen time and time again, not just myself, but my clients, when overcoming limiting the beliefs, the very first step is to acknowledge that you have a limiting belief. And sometimes that's really hard for us to do from an ego perspective. It's hard for us to say, it's easy for me to say I believe in myself, but the reality is, I don't think I do. And when you can actually say that out loud, and you can actually say where it is you're holding yourself back and acknowledge that.
That's when you progress.
That's it. That's the only way. That's when you move through past it. Because now you've said it out loud. And are you really going to let that be the thing that holds you back? No, your ego's not.
Absolutely. So question, do you only coach women, or is it also men?
I coach men and women.
Men and women, but
I'd say I have more women, female clients, more women find me. I always say the people who need me find me. And so I have more women that I coach and have coached, especially, because we're helping single moms.
Of course.
By definition, they're women. But through fitness and nutrition, mostly women. Through hypnosis is a 50-50 split. I have men and women 50-50 split.
I love that.
And kids.
So where can we find you, right? Because you said find me.
Yes.
So that kind of thing, right? What's your Instagram?
You can find me on Instagram. So that's where the bulk of my presence is on Instagram. So that's sa.rah.beth. And Brave Single Moms. There is a podcast called Brave Single Moms, which is on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's on YouTube. And that is my podcast, help single mothers restart their lives, with my amazing, incredible co-host and business partner, Amanda. So you can find us there.
Sarah, it was a pleasure having you on this podcast.
Thank you so much.
Everyone, if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and like this video and drop a comment leaving your thoughts. And if you are a online fitness coach or an in-person trainer who wants to scale their coaching business to 6 to 7 figures as well, kind of like how Sarah did, go ahead and go to the BuiltCEO.com and click to apply, and I will personally get back to you guys. I'm hoping I could consistently do these videos at least once a week. I have over 60 coaches I've helped out, and I told myself I'm going to bring on one amazing coach to my podcast every single week. So hopefully it ends up being that way, right? Keyword hopefully. So with that being said, I hope all of you guys have an amazing day, amazing week, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you guys on the next podcast. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.